Pizza wheel. There we go. Awesome. We're live. Okay. Welcome to the Warrior Mindset. We're doing this live. You'll be listening later, hopefully. I'm here today with a good friend of mine, Jay Cornelius. What's happening, Jay?
Hey man, good to be here.
Awesome. I love it. Jay is the president and founder of Nine Labs, which is a web consultancy. It's probably more than that. I'm sure he'll explain it in Atlanta. Known him for a very long time through a past life as a web developer and web design conference promoter. But first, we have a couple of sponsors to thank. Please check out Tacticalories. Jay, I got to get you some of these things. And StrikeForce Energy. So if you buy anything from either of those stores, use Warrior Mindset when you check out. That's what helps keep the lights on. All right, Jay, what's up? Tell us a little bit about Nine Labs first and foremost.
Yeah, Nine Labs. We say that we are a digital product strategy
Right.
company. So,
Definitely not a web shop.
well, I mean, it all happens on a screen, right? So
Right.
if it happens on a screen. We can help make it easier to use and more profitable. That's what it comes down to. You think about the difference between like an Airbnb app or some crappy app some other hotel has.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big difference, and a lot of thought goes into that, and a lot of work goes into making that stuff easy to use. And that's essentially what we do.
Well, you've got that pitch down.
Thanks. I've been saying it a few times.
Well, you're like a lot of us. You've been in business for a long time. I
Yeah.
think you and I met over 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's got to be at least 10 years.
Kind of nuts, right?
It is kind of nuts. And I've been doing this stuff, I've been making stuff for the internet and making software for 26 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 25 years. But yeah, and that's a long time. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I started my first business when I was in high school and never went back, just kept doing stuff. And, I think that's kind of what you want to talk about today is that
It is.
you just got to keep doing stuff.
It is. You can't sit still. You sent out. I'm on your newsletter list, of course, because you put out a lot of good information, and you put out this email that was like, I mean, I don't know what it's like in Atlanta or anywhere else anybody is. I'm in South Carolina, so when your email hit, it was like the day of stuff kind of exploding here in terms of, the governor making proclamations and stuff. So it was like the same day,
Yeah.
and like my inbox and my text, they lit up with people kind of freaking out, like, oh my God, the economy. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then your email hit, and I was like, damn, now there's a guy who is not just sitting around, right? Like your email was about, yeah, shit's happening. What are you going to do about it? Is what I got from it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you still read the newsletters and all that.
Oh, I,
Essentially,
I stalk you, man.
I appreciate it. Essentially, the intent of the email and the intent of my whole approach is that it's kind of going back to that Stoic philosophy of like you can't control what happens around you. You only control how you respond to it.
Mm,
So you could choose to be freaked out, and you could choose to just like huddle up in your house and be scared of the world and all that, or you can look at it as an opportunity to do something. And I think that it's an opportunity for anybody who owns a business or anybody who like cares about their craft to improve that and be thinking about how to get better at what you do, no matter what that is.
mm-hmm.
'Cause you've got more time on your hands now because you're probably not sitting in a car driving someplace. You're probably not spending time at the grocery store or whatever. So you could be sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, or you could be doing something about it.
Mm. That's why you're here. It kicked me in the ass, I'll tell you that much. Um, so the whole subject was shaping your new normal, right?
Yeah.
You started off by saying the in-person economy is eroding. What
Yep.
what do you mean by that?
Well, so we've seen this happen over the last probably 5 years anyway, right? Like last mile delivery is getting easier. People are buying more stuff on Amazon. There's, meal deliveries and grocery deliveries, and you can get people that will come to your house and pick up your dry cleaning and all that. So the idea that you have to go to a store to do things and to get things is becoming antiquated, right?
Mm.
it was already on that path because Amazon makes it easy to buy whatever you need, right?
Right.
I mean, I've got toilet paper and charcoal and soap and all kitchen stuff. I've got all that stuff on a subscription. I don't even have to think about it. It just shows up.
That's
I've
right.
got
We do that.
dog
I do
food.
that for my businesses. It just,
Yeah,
we
I've
have
got
so much of
dog
it.
food on a prescription it just shows up. I don't have to think about it. So, we were already kind of headed that direction. And now that this virus thing is happening everywhere, like literally everywhere, the entire globe, it's accelerated that because now people are like, ooh, I don't want to go to the grocery store to get stuff. I want it brought to me. Or and now I can't go to the hardware store to pick up whatever that thing is. Now I'm going to make it myself, or I'm going to do without, or I'm going to have it delivered or whatever. And so this idea of you have to go in person to conduct business with somebody is starting to fade. And I think that especially with a lot of the executives and leaders and people that I talk to, the trend is that they're seeing people be more productive from home, and they're seeing people be a little less frustrated with the day to day because they're not spending, at least in Atlanta, they're not spending an hour in traffic in the morning and another hour in traffic at night. Some idiot on Facebook on their phone trying to change lanes, like dealing with all that frustration.
You have to deal with Tom on his freaking speakerphone next door.
Yeah, exactly. And now all of that time can be rededicated to doing something that actually matters. And the managers that I talk to say some of their teams are being more productive. A lot of the individuals that I talk to say that they are being more productive, and it's going to be hard to go back to like a 9-to-5 office life after this for a lot of people. And so that piece of the in-person economy is eroding too, right? We don't have to be in the same room to get stuff done. I'm in Atlanta. You're in South Carolina. We're getting stuff done right now, right?
Right.
So the in-person economy, as I called it, is going to change. It's going to erode a bit, and people are going to rely on technology even more than they ever have.
So yeah, that's a good point. You also say people will expect to do more things online than ever before. So that's interesting fallout that we might get back to normal, whatever that's going to be, and then we're not going to like it.
That's the whole idea of the new normal. Like, what does that look like?
Right.
What does it look like when? So like right now, my entire family's here, right, in the house. We've been working. We've been doing stuff. What does it look like now that our daughter sees that? Well, shit, I don't have to go to the grocery store. I just open this app and order what I want. Right now, that becomes the new normal for her. Whereas before, it was like, oh, I'm going to go get bread, or I'm going to go get whatever it is that I need. But the new normal is I don't need to do that. Now I can have it brought to me. Obviously, there's socioeconomic boundaries for that, but the new normal is going to be different. We just don't know exactly how it's going to be different. And those of us who decide to take a role in shaping what new normal means for us will have an advantage over the people that just sit back and watch it change.
Damn. Yep. So which position are you going to take? Leader or follower? You can do both,
right?
But where are you going to fall?
Well, I mean, you're either the sculptor or you're the clay.
Yep.
So what are you going to
do? Spoken from a man who's been doing business on his own for 25 years. All right. So, many of the old norms are going to be not the same. So what's going to happen when you get back to work and your boss is like, wow, you're not getting as much stuff done as you were before?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be different for a lot of people depending on what their jobs are and what their boss's attitude is like.
Right.
In manufacturing, there's certain jobs that always have to be hands-on. Right? If you work with your hands, chances are you're going to have to go somewhere to work with your hands.
Right.
But if you work with your brain, and there's more and more people who are working in whatever you want to call it, the information economy, whatever, they're desk jobs, they're thinking jobs, they're typing jobs, they're talking jobs. They're not actually creating anything that's tangible. Those people could work from almost anywhere. We already see that. And now that a lot of people have been forced to use video conferencing and been forced to use stuff like FaceTime or whatever, video calls, to communicate with each other. Now they're like, oh, that actually wasn't that hard. Now I'm kind of used to it. So it's going to become part of their new normal.
Mm-hmm. We're already starting to see some of that with like what Facebook dropped the shared movie experience app. What is that? Like Watch With Me or whatever. Apple's rolling one out. Netflix has the what is it? Watch Party. Yeah, Netflix has got the Watch Party thing coming out.
Yep.
All of this internet connectedness is going to change us.
Yeah, it already has,
Yeah.
and we, we as people who care about what happens to our lives should be taking an active role in shaping how it changes us.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that with our behavior, right? So we vote with our time, and we vote with our eyes, and we vote with our dollars, and the things that we use and the things that we pay for are going to shape the way that those products are created going forward.
You have such an interesting psychological look at things. I think most people, I don't even know how to say it. They look at things in terms of like black and white. Like I'm gonna go in this direction. But your job and what you do is you literally sit back and watch how people do that, and then try to adapt the way your business or other people's businesses react to that sort of thing. I think it gives you an interesting perspective.
Yeah, and it's the difference, I think, from looking at psychology at an individual level, like that person, that one individual, or I know that my tendencies are a certain way, so that's how I make decisions, to looking at things at kind of a macroeconomic level, behavioral economics. Like, how do people make decisions in general? How do people with certain tendencies make decisions? And in the product design consulting that we do, most of it is focused on, who is your customer? What problem are you solving for your customer? What kind of pain does that customer have, right? Like you talked about some of the people that listen to this show, they're all over the place, right? You've got people who are working technology, you got people who are tradesmen, you've got people who own businesses and people who work for businesses, and you've got somebody who might be, like an electrician or a plumber or a tradesman, and that's a very important job. People look down on it, but you own a plumbing company, you're just as much of an entrepreneur as the guy who owns a web design business.
Yes, you are.
You have a customer, that customer has a pain, whatever that might be. Their sink is leaking, or they don't like their water bill is too high. You don't know what it is. And you have to do a good job as both a business owner and the worker, the person who's doing the work, to have understanding what that customer's pain point is, and then solving it in a way that provides value. And that's why they pay you.
Yeah. I think it's important to reframe how you approach business. I don't know that this applies just during a pandemic. I think it's like how you should be working on your business versus in your business. But it's this difference between being a like a service provider or a problem solver, right? So like let's take an electrician. You are either doing the electrician thing or you're solving problems with the thing that you do, right? So, and I think you're definitely in that position of being a problem solver. You do it. That's what people pay you to do for them.
The electrician thing is interesting, right? Because people don't want wires in their house. People want lights. Right? People want air conditioning. People don't want a box in the wall. People want power to a device that they're going to charge or they're going to plug in, right?
Right.
And part of the thing with electricity, and I spent, I don't know, a couple of years working as an electrician in oil refineries and that kind of thing. So I've got a little bit of knowledge in this. One of the things that people don't want to deal with is they're scared of electricity. I don't want to touch the wires. That thing might kill me, right?
Right.
It hurts. It might kill you, but most people, they're scared of it. So part of what an electrician's job is to remove that fear from whatever is in the way, right? So it's like, oh, my light doesn't work, my ceiling fan doesn't work. I don't know why, and I'm scared to unscrew this thing behind this light switch because I think it might kill me. Part of the electrician's job is to be like, got it, we will handle this for you. That's part of why people hire electricians, not just for the
Right.
knowledge, but because they don't want to deal with it. It's scary.
Right. Right. So what are some, as that problem solver, I think that was a great example of how you just broke that down. What are some things that you would, let's say you're coaching just, anyone, what are some things that you tell them that they should be doing right now instead of just sitting back and watching everything on Facebook unfold? Like, what are some things you coach them to do?
I think the first thing is be really mindful about how much time you spend scrolling social media, looking at news, and how much time you spend listening to the news or trying like refreshing whatever news site you're on, like trying to get the
Except
latest.
this podcast, spend all your time on
Yeah,
this podcast.
yeah. Just listen to Gene; you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is like there's so much information, and there's so much information that maybe doesn't agree with each other. So you've got a lot of what people call cognitive dissonance, is that you have to try to hold two competing thoughts in your head at the same time, and that's exhausting. The brain is a muscle like anything else, and if you use it for stuff that's not productive, then you're going to wear it out, and at the end of the day, you're going to be exhausted, and you won't have accomplished anything. So turn that shit off and focus on, like, sit back and think about, all right, in 3 months, like, what is the world going to look like in 3 months? Assuming all this virus stuff starts to calm down, what is the world going to look like in 3 months? And what do I need to do to be ready for that world? What is the world going to look like in a year? And what do I need to do to be ready for that world? And start working on that stuff. That's going to be different for everyone. You could be an athlete, you could be a banker, whatever. You know what you want your world to be. You know what you want your world to look like, and you can push in that direction. And now's a great time to do it. There's I forget who said it, and I forget it, I'll paraphrase it, but you get more done, or you win by working when the other guy's sleeping. Right? Or you win by doing the work when the other man rests. That's right now, there's a lot of people in pure panic mode, and they're resting. So people who are doing work and people who are making progress towards their goals are going to have an advantage over those people who are sitting on the couch, just binging Netflix.
Right. It's so simple, right? Like, I think we want to make it more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
It's sort of like I know in fitness, that's really most of the problem. Most people, they want to make it more complicated. They want to count macros, and they want to like track numbers and rep sets and things over weeks and days, when the reality is just don't eat shit, move every day. Right. And it sounds like you're giving us some very simple advice like that.
Yeah. Just eat more plants and do some push-ups.
Yeah. Right. It's that simple. All right. So you mentioned the Stoics earlier.
Yep.
I post a lot of Stoic philosophy through the feeds here on this post, and we talk about it a lot. What draws you to that mindset?
I don't know that anyone's ever asked me that. I think
how did you discover it? How did you discover the Stoics?
I don't remember that either. Somebody like quoted Marcus Aurelius or mentioned something. The earliest, thinking back now, the earliest I can remember that there was some type of Stoic influenced philosophy that really resonated with me. Somebody told me, and it's got to be 30 years ago, don't react, respond. And the distinction is in like language is subtle, but the distinction in mindset is huge, right? So you can react to something that happens in the world, and that's just like a knee-jerk kind of like reaction. But if you're intentional about, okay, this thing happened around me, I'm going to give some thought to how I'm going to respond to that, if I'm going to respond at all. Another kind of maybe early exposure to some Stoic philosophy was Rush. Like, if you choose not to decide, you've still made a choice.
Rush fan.
Yeah.
I like Rush. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's okay to do nothing. it's okay just to say like, oh yeah, that guy just cut me off in traffic. I'm just going to do nothing about it. Like I can't change it.
Right. The only thing I can control is my reaction to the thing.
Well, yeah, but that's where I think modifying the language is interesting. The only thing you control is your response,
Right.
right?
Yeah. You
And your
cannot.
response could be a reaction, or it could be nothing at all, or somewhere
Right.
on that spectrum. Anyway, back to answering your question. What draws me to it is it just kind of makes sense to me. The more I read about the way that the Stoics thought about life and they conducted themselves, it just kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's very little in there that seems fluffy or superfluous. It seems like part of the Stoic philosophy is again, not really like minimalism for minimalism's sake, but simplicity and clarity.
Right.
And that's something that I've strived for in every business and every relationship that I've had is like, let's get to the core of this. Let's figure out what really matters here and do that part,
Mm-hmm.
because the rest of it's just slowing me down.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing to do. Simple is really hard to do. Like
Yeah,
you think simple's easy, but simple is very hard.
it's really, really difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think like we were getting at earlier, us humans want to overcomplicate everything we do. Like we just can't help it. Who's your favorite? Mine's Marcus Aurelius. I don't know. Maybe that's a little too
Yeah.
knee jerk.
Well, I mean, I think I have 3 copies of Meditations in the house. My
Yeah,
nightstand. I've got one in the restroom, and there's one.
yeah,
In you can't see this bookshelf
yeah,
behind me, but there's one here.
yeah. That's the one you give your high school kid. Like read
Yeah,
these.
I've given a copy to each of the boys. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's another. You got a moment? I take the covers. I take the paper covers off all my books, but this one, the Stoic Challenge.
Ooh, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's a good book too.
Okay, look that one up. That's awesome. All right, so you found the Stoics. I mean, you've been in business for yourself. You say 25 plus years. You clearly do not start off. I mean, you start doing something. You're clearly not doing the same thing that you started with. That requires change.
Yep.
And it requires that change mindset. What are some of the things that you do personally to sort of get yourself up for the challenge every day?
Um,
I want to know how you think.
yeah. The things I tell myself in the morning. Well, one, like as my wife said right before we went live, like you you messed me up with that Bruce Lee quote, man.
Which one was that specifically?
We were talking about, so when we were in New Orleans earlier
Mhm.
this year, we were talking about nutrition and sleep habits and all that. And
Oh yeah.
when you were telling me that you wake up at like 4:30 in the morning and go to the gym, and I said, so what happens if you wake up at 3:45? Like, do you stay in bed for that extra little bit and try to
Right.
get that sleep?
Right.
And you said, no, I get up and I just go early.
Yep.
And then you said, Bruce Lee said it, when your eyes open, go.
Mm-hmm.
And now every morning, man, that thing's stuck in my, and I didn't intend for it to, but that it's stuck in my head. When your eyes open, go.
Yep.
So now I'm blaming you, Gene Crawford. You've got a big dumbass getting out of bed at 3:45 in the morning and coming down here and doing work.
That's awesome.
I mean, it is, but I'm tired.
You get tired by 4:30 though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The things I say in the morning. So there's that, and then it's like nobody's going to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
When you own a business, especially, you are the only thing. You are the person who has their foot on the gas pedal. You are the gas that goes into the machine, and you are the only person who's going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The only person who's going to make any difference in your life is you. And that sounds kind of selfish in a way, because other people absolutely make a difference in your life.
Well,
The
yeah.
people you surround yourself with absolutely make a difference, but you also choose who you surround yourself with. So
right.
ultimately, it comes back to you.
It starts with you. That's a lesson you've got to learn in business too, is that you cannot help others until you help yourself first.
Right.
Right. I see that particularly in the gym industry, that a lot of gym owners, they wind up letting people slide for a long time or giving things for free or whatever, because they genuinely want to help people.
Yeah, sure.
But then they go out of business, and it's like you cannot help the masses until you take care of what you're using as your platform to help other people. So I
Right.
don't. It comes off that way, but I don't think it is. We talk a lot about ego on this, and I'd like to get your take on what is your definition of ego?
I think ego is, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, ego is your sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your, in a way, it's that person you see when you look in the mirror, but it's the person you see when you look in your psychological mirror.
I dig
Right.
it. I dig it. I knew you'd figure it out. So we talk a lot about differences. Like ego can be bad in that if you let it get in the way of like relationships or personal growth, or you it gets in the way and you make a bad decision on business or whatever because you've got the world wrapped around you. But it's also good in that you need some ego to think you can even be in business for yourself in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ego, just like anything else, you can have like a fat slobby body, or you can be in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And your ego is kind of the same way. You can work on your ego. You can really think about what type of person do I want to be, and how do I want other people to feel when they're around me, right? That gets kind of sticky and slippery at the same time, because you can get stuck thinking that you're there to serve and just to please other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can put your ego in a really awkward spot, that you don't have the self-confidence unless other people approve, which is
Ooh.
also not true.
Right.
Right. So you need a certain amount of self-confidence, but you also need a certain amount of humility to make sure that you have to keep your ego in check, but you also have to feed it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that you already know this about me, and anyone who's known me for a long time, is everything's about balance, and you've got to find the sweet spot in the middle between feeding your ego and keeping your ego in check. You've got to find the sweet spot in the middle of going to the gym and thrashing it out, and still taking care of your body and giving it time to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got to find the sweet spot in the middle of working your ass off to build your business, and then taking some time off to let your brain relax. Right?
Yeah,
And
or so you don't lose your family. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a sweet spot in the middle of everything. And people talk about like work-life balance and whatever, and however you want to phrase it, you got to find that sweet spot. And I think that applies to your ego too.
Mm-hmm. And I like what you said, that no one's going to do it for you. I get questions about that topic, work-life balance, and it's like, how do I get work-life balance? And I think no one's going to do it for you. And I like how you said that. And I think it kind of comes down to that same thing, is that you have to work on it. Like I feel like a lot of people, like they want work-life balance, whatever that means to them, and they just kind of like are waiting for their boss to figure it out for them.
Yeah.
They're waiting for some program to come along that allows them to have it. Right.
Yeah. My take is that if you're concerned about work-life balance, you're doing the wrong work.
Yeah. You're probably doing something you hate.
Like the only people I really hear get caught up and like really passionate about work-life balance are the same people that I hear talking about how much they hate their job. Right.
Right. Usually.
If you're doing work that is rewarding, then your struggle is going to be to remind yourself to disconnect from that,
Mm-hmm.
which is in a way kind of a work-life balance thing. But you have to get your rewards from everywhere. And if you're a workaholic, you're spending all your time in your job, whatever, whether you own the business or not, you aren't doing a good job of feeding yourself all the different kinds of nutrition that you need.
Yeah, right.
Right. All the different kinds of, psychological and emotional nutrition that you need. You're only feeding one thing. And then you got to go back and look at, why is that happening? Right. Why am I making those choices?
Right.
I'm making that choice because I'm avoiding something. Like some people are workaholics because they don't like their personal life. They don't like their home life. Right. So am I a workaholic because I'm avoiding something at home? Well, the obstacle's the way, man. Go home and fix it.
Right.
Make the change. And that, for some people, that's fixing it. For some people, that's finding a different home. And
Right.
I'm not going to try to prescribe that, but you have to
Yeah.
do it one way or the other, right?
Right. You've got to face it at some point.
You just have to face it. And 90 times out of 100, it's a whole lot easier once you just open the conversation. Just like going to the gym. The hardest part about going to the gym is getting in the car.
Man, you're right.
The
It's the hardest part.
the hardest part about dealing with, a coworker that sucks is just having that conversation. You're like, hey man, it bothers me when this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You go to somebody, child psychologists tell kids to use this phrase. I don't like it when you do that. Right? And because it's not saying that you're a bad person.
Right.
It's saying
activity is bad.
I don't like it when you do that. And I could come to you and say, hey, Gene, I don't like it when you do that. And you're like, well, that's what I do. Right?
Right.
And then I have to make a choice whether I like you and I still want to, and I want to tolerate it, or whether whatever you do, upsets me enough that I don't want to be around you anymore. It's a non-confrontational. It's just stating the facts, and it's kind of getting back to that Stoic thing about there is a reality. Observe the reality as clearly as you can,
right,
and just deal with it.
Wise words. I'm going to try to apply that later today.
I don't like it when you do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So you left me with a quote. I asked you what your favorite quote was. And
Tyson.
What's that?
Mike Tyson.
Yes. And it is what did you say it was? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Right. Well,
right.
Punch in the face, yeah.
Yeah. Why is that your favorite?
I think it's because nobody can sit on their couch and come up with the perfect plan and that plan go exactly as you thought it would. It does not happen. When it does happen, that's called luck. And you can't count on it.
Who was that? Was it Hannibal from the A-Team? They always used to say, I love it when a plan comes together.
Plan comes together. That's right.
That guy with the cigar. Har.
Always had the cigar. Yeah. Yeah. And part of that is that it reminds me, because of who said it, Mike Tyson, it reminds me that you have to get in the ring. Right? And what you thought was going to happen when you get in the ring is probably not going to go that way. But you won't know unless you get in the ring, and you have to get in and do your work.
That's right. Those are lessons you're going to learn pretty fast.
Right. You just figure it out.
Yeah.
You just figure it out as you go. And if you did your training and you prepared and you've got good solid principles and values to fall back on that help guide your decisions, you're going to be fine. And yeah, things are going to happen that hurt. A great example is, and I think I told you that, I don't know, maybe a year ago, like we in my company, we've been doing a lot of work with travel companies, airlines and hotels and so on. Right? And so we decided to focus on the travel industry. So all of our work has been focused on helping airlines and hotels and similar businesses with their apps and their services and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So for the past 9 months, I've been doing nothing but talking to airlines and hotels about doing business together. And then coronavirus hits, and now guess what? Everything's paused. Yeah. Zero. I didn't plan for that. I just got punched in the face. Yep. What am I going to do? Am I going to lay down? Am I going to lay on the ground and let the ref count me out? Or am I going to get back up and try to find another way to do work?
Right. Yeah. You've changed to be in this business. You can change to be doing something else. So you can change the way you talk to those people, or you can change how you set things up for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it kind of goes back to that scarcity versus abundance mindset.
Right.
Right. It's really easy to find crappy stuff on the internet, like websites that suck and apps that don't do what you want, or apps that, that are confusing. Those are really, really easy to find. And there's plenty of companies who know that they didn't get it right the first time and they want to make it better.
Yeah. What type of potato am I based on my birthday app? Yeah. I've seen a ton of those. I get like, get away. That's interesting. Yeah. I like to think of that. I like how you put that. How did you put that? Scarcity versus abundancy?
So scarcity versus abundance mindset. There's you can just Google stuff and you'll find plenty of things about it. There's a Hidden Brain podcast has a really good episode about that, where they look at farmers in India, I think it was, and whether the farmer's yield was up or down versus predictions. And then they went back and looked at their mindset and how they actually ran their business. And they found that the farmers with the abundance mindset actually outperformed the farmers with the scarcity mindset.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah, we do some interpersonal coaching. We call that growth versus fixed. It's probably the same way to put that, I imagine.
Could be. Yeah.
I've never heard it put that way. I'll have to look that podcast up.
The scarcity mindset's also why all the stores run out of toilet paper, because all the people are like, there's not going to be any toilet paper. I got to go get it because it's scarce, right? No, it's not scarce. They're going to make more. Plus, is like you're sitting on a stockpile of toilet paper, but you don't have any food. So
yeah,
toilet paper for again.
You can't eat the toilet paper,
right?
No, maybe you can. I don't know.
Like no input, no output. Why are you trying to handle anyway?
Right. Awesome. Well, Jay, thank you. That was some really great insight.
Are we end on the toilet paper comment?
You have to. You have a book, right? You have a book that's come out?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, here's one. So it's called Loops. So it's all about building products with clarity and confidence. This is really how to get an idea out of your head and into the real world. But really more is like when you see something, when you see a need in the world, when you see that it's like, oh, hey, this thing doesn't work the way that it needs to, or I really wish there was a thing that did this. Going out into the world and seeing if other people have that problem, and if they do, figuring out how to solve it, and then how to build that into a company that can make you money.
Wow, that's a great book. Everyone should have on their bookshelf right now while they're at home watching Netflix. They should be reading that book instead.
Yeah, it's there's a PDF, so you can get an ebook, you can get an audio version, or you can get the hard copy. It's all on Amazon. Go to loopsbook.com.
Loopsbook.com. We're going to put that out there. That's great. Guys, check out his book. Spend some time. Work on that project, man. Get that side hustle. Get that side hustle going. You've got time.
Yeah,
right? You've got time. This is pretty much what most of us have is some free time. So let's use it wisely. Let's do something creative.
Yeah, Uber, Airbnb, Stripe, Venmo, all those companies were launched in the last downturn. So there's going to be some great companies come out of this one.
Yep.
Maybe one of them is yours.
That is awesome. Jay, thank you so much for spending time with us today. You got me jazzed, man. I'm going to leave here and work on some other projects.
Cool, man. Hey, appreciate it. It's always fun to talk to you, Gene.
Thank you.